Hello, Juliette. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very happy to have you here, and also this is our second time as a jury members in the same film festival, and I congratulate us that we had such great movies and horror movies. What do you think? How do you feel about it?
I thought once again it was an amazing experience, and so grateful I could be a part of it. It was so much fun for me, but also at the same time, I think we had double the entries, and I was quite relieved when we were like, okay, we're wrapping up. When we got those emails, I was like, yep, I need to wrap up.
Actually, triple.
Watching
Actually,
so many. Oh, it's triple. Was it triple?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It was so many films, and they were all amazing. But yeah, I was quite exhausted, because it's not like watching it like on YouTube, like it's not just for entertainment. You have to pay very close attention, and you're analyzing all these different elements. You have to be really focused. So it can be quite tiring, but overall, a really amazing experience. And I agree, some of the movies, I had so much trouble coming up with my top 5. I agonized over it.
Yeah, I'm still working on it, by the way.
You're still working. I don't blame you. It's a really tough.
Yes, I'm still working on it, but the deadline is so soon. So, yeah, I would like to ask you about, you're a writer, you're a horror screenwriter, and I would like to talk about, of course, about our festival, and also most of your work. How did you first get into writing horror, and what was your first horror script like?
Sure. So I grew up watching horror. It was just how my household was. I had 2 older brothers, and I just watched what they were watching. So that meant, like, when I was 6, I saw Poltergeist, I saw Jaws, The Shining, all of these things, very young age.
Yeah.
And I think kind of at first I had like it was never much of a fear. It was more of a curiosity about what I was seeing, like these really heightened emotions and these really life or death situations, and everything that sort of takes place within a horror film. So yeah, I think first it was like I was curious, and then as I got older, it was like more of a thrill, kind of seeking more those gory kind of, horrible kind of horror films to sort of push myself a little bit. And then now I honestly, I just really enjoy it. I find it quite relaxing to come home and put on a horror movie.
Wow.
I don't know what that says about me as a person. But I find it quite relaxing. I think horror gets a really bad rap. I think particularly, not so much now because you're seeing the popularity, it's really growing. But, when I was first started to write horror, when you would say to people, 10 years ago, oh, I love horror movies. It was really seen as being, kind of lower down, like on the scale of films for quality, and I just think it's so wrong. Like it's actually so wrong. Because horror really explores like every facet of human emotion. Look at the stakes. The stakes are life and death. You can't get higher stakes really than that. You have those horror movies too where you're also going to lose your soul, or you're going to become a demon, or like something even worse than death. But you really can't go further than that. You know what I mean? There's nowhere much further to push it. And I love those stakes. And I love, I think some of the most beautiful love stories are explored in horror. Just that full range of human emotion. And that's what I really, really love about them. It also helps. I think sometimes you see somebody who's in a lot more peril you are. Maybe it puts your life into a little bit of perspective, you know. I had a bad day at work, but at least the smile demon's not trying to possess me. You know, things can always be worse. But yeah, I think I'm trying to think of my first script. My first script was actually based off a short horror story that I had written. It was a creature story, and it was kind of inspired by a little life experience that I had, and it just sort of grew from there. My husband used to travel a lot for work, and he'd gone away, and I'd fallen asleep like after work, and I woke up. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I went in to take a shower, and I took a shower, and when I got out, I hadn't realized my husband must have taken the towels to wash them and did not replace the towels. So I got out, there's no towel, there's nothing. And just as like I'm having this realization, I hear this noise like outside the bathroom door. And I know it's not my husband because he's overseas, it's not him. And I don't have my phone, and I don't have a towel, and I sort of have like nothing, and now I'm trapped. Like trapped in the bathroom with this weird noise. You know, and obviously I ended up having to just go out like with nothing, like, okay. And it was nothing, it was just, you know, who knows, mystery sound. But yeah, and that sort of inspired that story that I then turned into a short screenplay.
And who was it?
There was nobody there. I don't know what the noise was. It could have been anything. I don't tempt those things. Like if I see a shadow and I know there's nobody there, I'm like, I didn't see anything. I'm not investigating. I'm not investigating anything. I'm not trying to contact anything. I don't want to be involved. That's my whole attitude to that kind of thing. If it's not like a person who I can fight, I'm not interested. I don't want to know.
Yeah. Good choice to not know anything about.
I don't want to know about it.
But
I see like some weird thing running in the bush. I'm not going to follow it. You know what? Just go live your life. I'm going to live my life.
Of course, yeah. But this gave you the muse, no?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
And you wrote short stories, and also you wrote also a feature film, right?
I did. Yeah, I did.
What's the difference between the feature length scripts and the short movie scripts?
I like writing short scripts more, but they don't sell. Nobody wants to buy them. I like shorts. I think I feel very comfortable writing short films and short stories because it is something I've always done. I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that. And, you know, shorts are more forgiving. You can just take a character, you can drop them in a small moment in time. Features, it's a lot more. You have to maintain the tension. There needs to be character development. There needs to be a lot more attention to continuity and pace. You know, it's like the whole thing just goes up a level. You know, and you have to also be able to dedicate yourself to, I'm one of those people that as soon as I get an idea for writing something, I immediately start thinking of like 5 more ideas, you know, and when you're writing a short, that's okay because you can just write your 5 short ideas. But when you're writing a feature, you need to stay very focused on, you know, exactly, you know, how it's going to go. You can't sort of start, oh, but what if this character, or what if she changed and started to do, you know, you go off track. You know, you really need to be very dedicated to the structure of your screenplay. You know, the structure is really, really key. It's incredibly important.
But does it change also while you are writing a long one or a short one? Does it change? What do you focus on the most? Like atmosphere or character or surprises? I don't know.
Sure. I think for my short films, it tends to be it's more I have an idea to put somebody in a situation.
Yeah.
Obviously not a good situation.
Like woman has no towel. That's the
That's
situation.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So I think more like that. I think for the feature, though, I tend to be a lot more, I think a lot about my characters. And then I really I think a lot about the character, where they came from, their background, kind of what's driving and motivating them. And really, I have an idea of what I want the story to be, but it's very, very character driven. You know, it's very much a story about that particular person. And that would be the difference.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Australian horror cinema. What do you think about it, and how does the genre fit in the local industry?
Sure. Look, us Australians love horror. We have a very long love affair with the horror genre. I think back in the 70s and the 80s particularly, we had this real period of exploitation film, you know, where it would be like the leather-clad orgies, eyeballs bursting, guts flying everywhere kind of thing. I know Tarantino is a huge fan of Australian exploitation films. I think he calls it Aussie-ploitation or Oz-ploitation, something like that. And he's a huge fan of it. And look, you know, there are some movies that you can still watch, like on streaming services, like Fair Game, Razorback, Patrick, you know, Wake in Fright, Picnic and Hanging Rock's not an exploitation film, but it's a very, very famous movie. It's a very famous book. We actually study it in school still. It's still happening. And you know, it was directed by a very famous Australian director named Peter Weir. And yeah, people still talk about it today. And I think it was made in the late 70s. And it's still very, very popular. But yeah, I think, and then sort of more modern times, I think really what happened, we had that big explosion of exploitation or Ozploitation. And then the funding started to be driven more towards, you know, more serious dramatic cinema. And of course, without the funding, you know, all those opportunities for the horror just sort of dried up. And then I think just really slowly over time, it's been rebuilt. I think Australia is quite well known internationally. We have had quite a few international hits. I know Lake Mungo is seen as like a cult status movie. Wolf Creek, The Babadook, that's a Jennifer Kent film. She also did The Nightingale. She's an Australian filmmaker. And then, of course, you have probably the most famous, which is Lee Whannell and James Wan. And James Wan did Saw, Insidious, Conjuring. But unfortunately, like they couldn't do it here. You know, it just couldn't be done here. They tried to get Saw made here. Nobody was interested. So they went over to the US, and he's now built like a conglomerate of horror films. You know, there are so many of them. They're so well known. They're so popular. I mean, James Wan has really just done amazing for himself. And Lee Whannell, he just had Wolfman. It wasn't that long ago. He made Wolfman. But like, to give you some idea, in Australia, the average cost of production on a film is about $5 million. The average in the US is $100 million.
Yeah. like
you have to go where the money is. This is
in Turkey, I don't know, but maybe Honor knows.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's very tricky. I think Australia's been lucky that we do collaborations. We do international collaborations. We've done a couple with Ireland. I think we've done a few with Scandinavia as well. Goran Stolevski, he's an Australian Serbian filmmaker. He made You Won't Be Alone, which they shot in Serbia, and they shot it in his native language, which is Macedonian. It was all shot in Macedonian, and that was a joint collab. So, you know, I think as much as we love horror cinema, I think if you can get funding to make anything in Australia, you're doing very, very well. I can't forget Danny and Michael Filippo. Oh my gosh, talk to me, bring her back. These movies, like these movies are massive at the moment. And they're brothers from, I think they're from Adelaide, so they're pretty laid back. But yeah, they have done an amazing job, just really done an amazing job of getting the funding for those movies. Those movies are made in Australia. They have predominantly Australian casts. They are really inclusive. They make sure their casting is multiculturally diverse to really reflect the reality of Australian society. And they write really good, scary films. So I'm really proud of Danny and Michael. I can't wait to see what they do next. I'm so excited to see what they do next. Lots of pressure for them.
Bring Her Back is now on the cinemas, right? And yeah, I think now also in Turkey, it's now on the cinemas. And what I don't remember, but is there an Australian movie in our festival? Did you remember?
I don't think so. There weren't a lot of Australian entries. Yeah, there wasn't so many, I don't think.
There were such Spanish horror movies, right? Like a lot of Spanish horror movies we watched, as I remember. What do you think about how was last year and how was this year for you? Like, there was a new teams, or there were any recurring teams? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there were a couple that were strangely similar, but they were from different countries, and it was like, I don't know, just a coincidence. Like there were a few that I was like, haven't I just seen this person do this thing already? Like this is the exact same story I've just watched, but this one's, you know, Australian, and that other one was from, you know, Iran. What is happening? But yeah, look, as I've said, I think the quality is incredibly high. I think it's a really impressive festival. I think it's becoming an incredibly well-respected festival, and that's fantastic. There was a lot of really incredible entries. There was what really stood out for me was just the amount of emotional, smart, thought-provoking, unique storytelling that I saw. Like the amount of times I said two things a lot. The first thing I said a lot was, drone shot. The second thing I said a lot, because there was a lot of drone shots. If that could be a theme, there were a lot of drone shots. Yeah. The second thing I noticed myself commenting on was, I haven't really seen this done before, or you know, I haven't really seen this story told this way. It's just absolutely unique storytelling, and what I love so much about this particular festival is it gives somebody like me on the other side of the world, in my quiet little Australia, an insight. It does it kind of pulls back the curtain for me to get some insight into what is happening in other countries, what is happening in the society, what is happening politically.
Yeah.
Because we get quite a few of those entries that otherwise they would not have a voice. You know, they would not be being seen. They would perhaps not be screened.
Yeah.
You know, and I just found that so fascinating. And I found the other thing I found fascinating was sort of once again going back to a lot of this horror being so universal is just that those same, no matter the country, no matter the language, just these common themes of like, I thought toxic masculinity was a really big theme. Trauma, really big theme. The societal pressure on how you are supposed to behave, and both male and female, like the expectations that families are putting onto people. This disconnection, a lot of us, and isolation, a lot of us are sort of feeling in the world at the moment. And it was just, I thought it was amazing to see. You know, we're all so different, but we're also very much the same.
Yes. Maybe that's why you feel like the stories are very similar. Like it's not coincidence. I think the Jung, a psychoanalyst, Jung, Carl Gustav Jung, he called it collective unconscious.
Yeah. I've heard that before. Yeah, they call it like a collective conscious, and they say that it happens quite a lot. Everybody just starts telling sort of the same story and has sort of very similar experiences, even though they've never met and they don't really have any connection.
I think it's something like this. Like the stories are same, and also we are human beings. We are living in different countries, but we also know that the fascism is getting getting very popular, and racism also. And
you're seeing it a lot. You're seeing the racism, the homophobia, you know, all of this fascism, the Nazism, everything is coming to a head.
We're living in the same world, actually.
Because we're all human, we're all, you know, we all have families we want to protect, we all have somebody that we love, we, you know, I think every average normal person just wants some peace and just wants the world to keep sort of turning, and then you always have that few that feel that they need to ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, as you said, our fears are mostly in common, so that's why we are in our brains we tell the same stories, we tell the similar stories, which are coming from our fears. But as a jury member, what do you mainly look while you're watching a movie? How do you judge then? How do you judge?
I know. Leniently. I'm such a soft touch. I'm such a soft touch as a judge. I know how hard it is to make a film. So look, I'm always, you know, for me, it's because I'm a writer, I think story is a big one for me. I like a clear premise. I don't mind ambiguity, and I don't mind if like it's not all wrapped up in a little bow. I actually don't like having things wrapped up in a little bow. I like to be made to think. I like to wonder. But yeah, I think I really like those movies that build up some atmosphere, that you know, that I become really curious about. I become really curious about the character. I become really curious about their situation. So yeah, for me, it's always sort of the story, and then if there's the tension or the dread build up, I absolutely love that. And for me also character. I need a good character. I don't have to like the character, but I need the character to have something.
Yeah.
You know, some reason why I'm watching this person, especially if it's a 25-minute short film. 5 minutes, I forgive you. 25 minutes, I need a reason to be watching this person go on this journey, because we're going on it together. I have to go too.
Yes.
You know, so give me something.
Yes.
Look, technical execution. I'm not an expert in technical execution. I like found footage films. I'm extremely forgiving of visuals and sound. You have no idea. Editing, I'm a lot tougher on. Pacing and editing, I'm really tough on, because it takes you out of the experience. And I don't want to be taken out of the experience. I want to enjoy the whole thing. But yeah, and look, you know, sometimes you just see something and you just like it. Like you watch it and you're like, I just had so much fun watching that. You know, and it's not the most unique story and it's not the most cerebral experience you've ever had, you know. But it was just enjoyable and you kind of got like a bit of a kick out of it, you know. Those movies have their place too. I think particularly in the horror genre. And I think that's what I love about the horror genre, is it just lends itself. You know, there are so many subgenres that you can explore. You know, there's so many places you can go. There's so much you can do. You know, really, you can do anything. And I think that the horror filmmakers are the ones that are really the pioneers and the explorers. They're the ones that are like going that extra length to be like, it's not just that this person killed somebody, but how did they do it? Why did they do it? You know, what they push further, I think. I think horror is not afraid to really explore and examine, you know, us as human beings, or, you know, these metaphors, like using creatures and supernatural things as metaphors and stuff like that. And
yes. Yes. And Juliette, I want to ask one last question. Can you recommend us a horror movie, but passionately, like you can't forget it in your whole life?
God, how much time do we have? There's so many. There's so many. I watch so many movies. I watch a horror movie every day.
No, you just tell me one.
One.
Just
Oh
one.
my God.
Yes.
That's cruel. I didn't know you would be cruel. God, just one. There's one I saw recently that I really liked, called Red Rooms. It's a French-Canadian film. It's a psychological horror film. I really, really liked that.
Can you tell us the name again?
Red Rooms.
Red Rooms.
I really, really liked that one. But I did just watch Bring Her Back, and I liked that too. But of course, my favorite is Baskin. It has to be Baskin.
Really?
Do you know why? I want to tell you why I like Baskin so much. I have no idea why I watched it. I think someone recommended it to me, like on Facebook, some random person. And I'm like, okay, I want to see it. So I love how that movie unfolds. And it's very memorable. And it's memorable for me for a certain reason. And it is, you know, it starts off with this group of guys who you're not really too sure about this group of guys, even though they're police, you know, they seem a little morally ambiguous, maybe not the best group of guys out there, right? You kind of get that pretty soon. But then as it progresses and then they go through the door and then you start having that reveal, the reveal of the rooms and what's happening in the rooms, there is this moment, this unforgettable experience in Baskin that is so rare in a film. It is just this sweet, delicious moment where you and they come to the realization at the same time that once it's all revealed of what's actually happening, you just are like, oh, you guys are screwed. Like, you're not, this situation is so bad. And I remember that, just that feeling of like, oh my God, like, you're not getting out of there. Like, I can't foresee that happening. This situation is so bad, guys, you know. And I remember, it's palpable to me. It's a visceral feeling of just, you know, and that's where horror can take you. Is like, you're safe in your home, sitting on your couch, you got your rug, maybe you got your cat, you got your cup of tea. and what you're witnessing unfold on screen. You can have this physical reaction to it. You know, and I remember it. And then even the end, I remember the end, I was just like, oh, like it's such a cruel film. I love that it's cruel. It's so grim and it's so cruel. And I love it. I love it for that. Because it's a very brave film. He makes a lot of really brave choices that you would not see, I don't think, in mainstream, like US cinema. You know, they sort of have their little things and they make a big fuss about them, like Barbarian and stuff like that. I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing. It doesn't compare.
I see. I didn't watch it, by the way, but
you should watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I will, because
I highly recommend.
You really put your heart and to put here. You took your heart and put here, and I really feel like you got fascinated by this movie and by this scene. Yeah. Juliette, thank you very much. I'm very happy to see you again. Thank you for have this conversation.
Yes, thank you.
And it's very great to hear from you, from your horror world and your work. And thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to meet you finally.